And I think we're live. It's always a little bit of a rocky beginning, so I apologize. Let me make sure everything's good and set up. I don't want to be running off to the races with no volume or anything like that. So let's just go ahead and check it really quick and make sure everything's good. Make sure everything's good. A little quiet. Make sure everything's good. A little quiet. But if I turn my volume up, uh, I'm good. Okay. So, all right. Well, I already have one person in the chat, but I'm going to close this because I think I'm echoing. I see you, Jonathan. Thanks for streaming. Sound is good. Perfect. Okay. So, I don't know if you watched my last video, but I would encourage going back and looking at the previous video that I streamed yesterday, discussing all of that kind of stuff, all the stuff relating to TDROP and the explanations and stuff like that. Today, I wanted to go a little bit more in depth and look at the actual data that's on chain to discuss the staking rewards, because it's not just obvious how much you're going to get per whatever amount that you're staking. I don't think that it's intentional necessarily, but it's very convoluted. The basic premise is fairly simple. You're basically taking the entire amount of rewards that are available and dividing it by the total percentage of theta or T-drop that is staked currently. So the idea sounds simple. The issue with that is how the supply is always changing. So if we go to the two important addresses that we need to look at, the first one is the contract address. This is the TNT20 contract address, and that shows the total supply of T-drop that's been allocated. Now, what I got confused about yesterday was I was assuming that this was the circulating supply. We don't actually have a good way to find the actual circulating supply. So our numbers from the white paper are probably still correct, that there's probably about 4.6 billion circulating. But we don't really have any way of knowing that. So I've been just using the total supply from here. And it looks like, based on like Mitch Liu, he's the CEO of Theta Labs. I think he has access to an actual like number of circulating supply, but that wasn't really what I was focused on. So if I needed to go hunt down the actual circulating supply, I might be able to do that, but that wasn't really my focus. So the other thing that's important to look at today is the total amount of T-drop that is currently staked. And this is the staking address for T-drop. So anytime you put in your stake, it goes to this address. Now, another tidbit that I just wanted to mention before I get completely started, CoinGecko is actually tracking T-drop's price. And so that's pretty cool. So right now it's up at 0.032% cents, so about 3 cents. So now even CoinGecko is not quite sure how much is circulating and then how much the market cap would be because of that. So we don't really publicly have like a great circulating supply. I would still guess it's probably around 4.6 billion. So that's some just overall information. Now let's get into how you would actually calculate staking rewards. And I spent essentially all morning on this trying to figure it out. My first thought was that I could use APIs to basically pull the information off of the Explorer. Turns out the API documentation hasn't been updated yet, so that wasn't going to work. So I was going to try scraping it from the website directly. Like just use a Excel function or something like that and just pull this number. But I learned today that they use JavaScript to make their websites. That probably means nothing to most people. So basically, here's what I ended up doing. It's making a bunch of timed calculations, basically. So I started just tracking the number of supply and staked. And then from there, taking the rewards. So this is the yearly rewards. So I don't know if that was clear. 1 billion will be given out to every wallet that's staking proportionally. So you only have 1 billion TDROP this year, to be getting. So that's kind of what we were going to be working with. We're not going to really go into like what could I expect for the next several years because, well, let's take a look at it. So the reason that this is tricky, I don't know if this makes any sense to anybody, but I'll try to explain it. So here is like every 5 minutes how the numbers have changed. This is every minute for about 10 minutes how the numbers changed. All right, so this was me just refreshing and copying and pasting and calculating as I went, as time went by. And so we can see that on average, this is the average amount of the supply that changed. This is suggesting that every 5 minutes, about 10,000 TDROP is added to the circulating supply or total supply. That breaks down to about 2,000 per minute. So every single minute, 2,000 TDROP is being added to the whole overall supply. And the staking is also shifting dramatically as well. And so you can see that there was a $3 billion TDROP stake, and then there was a 200,000 TDROP stake. Then somebody withdrew 1.3 billion, and then somebody else put in 3 billion. So we have like a wildly shifting at the moment staking percentage. And so on average, about 180,000 TDROP are going to be added to the overall stake every few minutes, basically. And so what's complicated here is that you could just grab an APY by doing the math. It's just it's this divided by the total supply times the percentage staked, right? It's a simple math problem. And I've seen Mitch tweet a couple of times, excuse me, the insane APYs. The issue with that is it's not a consistent APY. You know that when you take out a loan and you get like a 3%, APR or whatever, you know that it's like gonna essentially stay 3% for the entire year. So you could calculate how much interest you're going to pay. With the staking reward, since it's based on two fluctuating numbers, this APY was somewhere around like, what was it yesterday? It was like 900, it was like 700% yesterday. And as of today, it's at I'm lost now. It's at somewhere around 94% APY. So we're seeing just a consistent decrease. And actually, if you just look at the numbers, you can see the APY basically decreasing every minute, every 5 minutes. So my solution to this, to figure this out, was to extrapolate this decreasing rate, since I couldn't just find I'll get back to that. So extrapolate that consistent decrease in APY, and then I split it up and figured out the basically how much, the percentage yield is per minute, because the staking wallets are basically working on a block-to-block basis. So I think it's every block these rewards are being distributed, and I'm pretty sure that for Theta's blockchain, that's like every 8 seconds. So it's incredibly detailed work, and this is going to take, I think, like a community effort to come together and basically create a system that can work with the APIs and the block explorer to accurately predict these changing fluctuations. But for today, the solution is to average out these fluctuations and then go from there. And so, based on these changes, we can see that these are really, really tiny changes over time. But assuming that every minute, and this is really not as precise as you could get, because you could drill this down even farther to every block, and that's what's happening on the blockchain. So, but that has code and algorithms, governing it. I am not getting paid enough to develop that and explain that. All joking aside, so let's say today I had, yesterday I staked 2,000 TDROP, right? Today I have 2010, so I earned 10 TDROP yesterday, which is like pretty cool, right? So, and then what do we do from there? So now I'm starting with this 2010, and then I'm aggregating minute by minute how much I should expect to get based on that 2010, adding it to the balance, and then redoing that same process. This is like a loop, and then this is what's happening every cycle, every block that gets confirmed on the blockchain is doing this whole thing again. It's taking the amount that you have on your wallet, it's giving you your proportion of the stake, it's then adding it to your wallet. And so for the next, day or so, I'm guessing, well, it's probably going to take a couple more days to see that balance increase in any meaningful way, unless you have, something like, 2 million staked. You would be seeing, 1.5 TDROP basically per minute. And so that would be great. But most of us are somewhere probably around 2,000. That was probably like what most people got during the airdrop so far. And so 2,000, you're probably getting about 0.001 per minute. And then if you divided that by the block size, it'd be even tinier. So we're getting tiny, tiny little drips. TDROP, how about that? How interestingly named that is now. So it's kind of just dripping into your account, kind of like a faucet, I guess. So if you take this standard rate of an increase, what we're seeing is about a 0.00002% increase of your wallet balance each time. So that's not directly correlated to the minute yield, but it's fairly close. And so if you extrapolate that out and you just average it out, that averages out to about 3% per month, or about 37% per year. So an annual percentage yield of about 37%. That's sort of the magic number there. That comes out to equal, roughly 750 TDROP. So like if you're going to stake 2,000, you could, I think, reasonably conclude that you might make about 700 TDROP over the course of this next year. And I wonder if there's an easy way to figure that out. Yeah, not really, because your staked amount is going to be compared to the overall staked amount, and that's just changing. What I assumed is that there probably wasn't going to be much more than 1.3 billion staked, because that was going to be the amount that was airdropped to Guardian nodes and validator nodes. So there could potentially be more because we have this other amount that's available essentially from Theta Labs and the team. But I don't know if we can count on that. And so far, we haven't seen any more than 1.3 billion being staked. So we're currently somewhere at about, 1.1. And we are seeing this number, the amount of TDROP staked to compare to the amount that there is in circulation total, that percentage is increasing pretty significantly. So it has been probably like an hour since I last updated this. So I'm going to show you kind of just how this would work. And we'll see what the current rates are. So what we're going to do is go back over to this. We're going to refresh this, and we'll see that now we have 10 billion, etc., large numbers. Don't, I'm going to separate these. So don't look at that necessarily. That's more like extrapolation. This should be the actual math. So then we'll go back here, and this is the total amount that we have staked. And we'll take that and put it over here. And so we're currently at 10.82%. That puts us at a 92% APY. And that doesn't really change much of anything over here. So we're stabilizing at this 92% APY right now. But as time goes on, I'm predicting probably in the next few hours, we're going to see it drop down to 91, then 90. So every couple hours, I think we're going to go down to 1%. So where would we stabilize? Well, probably around the 50% staked of the circulating supply. And that's a little bit more complicated. But that's kind of what they were assuming would happen in the white paper. They were assuming that about 50% of the supply would be staked. And that would average out to be about 42%. So my calculation was 37%. They're predicting somewhere around 42% as that'd be like a baseline. That's sort of like an average. So we'll see, but I'm pretty positive that for your yearly calculations, you would want to assume somewhere around 37% to 42% of whatever you have staked. Wayne Robin says, I don't see the TDROP in my desktop Theta wallet. Well, that is interesting. It should have shown up yesterday. You'll want to make sure that you refresh everything, and if you're using like the Chrome extension and that kind of stuff, all that should be updated. I'm not entirely sure why you wouldn't be seeing it. There was a known issue about stakes not showing up in the right places, but they are aware of that and working on it. So I think it's good to clarify, kind of back to the It's on the Explorer. Yeah, so it should be on the Explorer. But then, like on my wallet, I have the normal T Fuel, or Theta T Fuel, and TDROP showing up. I'm not exactly sure why it wouldn't be showing up for you. Um, you would probably just want to make sure that you close your browser and refresh everything, make sure everything's up to date. Um, other than that, I'm not sure. Could just take a little bit for it to roll out as well. So maybe there's going to be stages to where everything gets updated. And it might, maybe it depends on the browser you're using. I know there's a lot of different factors that could affect it. So I totally lost my train of thought there. Right. Okay. So if you were to basically, like, what you want to do for figuring out how much you're likely going to make, we could use this over here and we could kind of do some calculations. So this is doing something similar to what I was doing on the other spreadsheet. This is taking like the average monthly percentage yield, and that's going to come out to about 1.3%. Because for the first few days, you know, you're going to be getting super high rewards, but like we saw, those rewards are going to steadily decrease. So you're better off kind of taking an average amount of like what that's going to be the high and what it's going to be when it low, you know, plateaus basically. Theoretically, we'll see like a plateau eventually. And so if you know are staking 1,000, you know, you can expect probably about this amount per month. Right in there, 35 to 50, 70. Now we could easily check and see if I'm going to check this the amount per year and see what that comes out to equal. About 626, which was pretty close to what we did over here. I said about 700. Well, that's at 2,000. So, whoops. So at 2,000 with a very favorable average yield, you might see between 700 and 1,000 probably per year. Well, and this is calculating adding on the extra 1,000 that I wasn't really taking into consideration with the other amounts, because that also affects how much you're going to get in staking rewards once you get these next airdrops in May and August and November. I would think that you'll want to be adding to your stake, and that's going to change all of this. So what I would do is I would figure out how much do you have staked, and then use either 37% or 42% as guidelines to figure out how much you'll make over the course of the next year. Because and then if you wanted to figure out how much you're going to be making like every day, that would be significantly more time consuming. But you could use about 3%, you know, probably between 1.5% to 3%. These are just parameters, because what we're talking about here is so much fluctuation. really the best we can do is estimates. You could use 1% or 3% a day. I guess the biggest reason, perhaps, that why you would want to try and figure out how much you're going to be earning is to see if you could project when you might be able to reach those tiers for the Theta Drop VIP tiers. So this is sort of a surprise thing that kind of came out like the day before the drop, maybe a couple days. But I wanted to explain this as well. Probably should have put it in the description as well. But while you're here, the TDROP VIP tiers, okay, are going to be using. They're going to be looking at the amount of TDROP you're holding here. Oh, I have 160. I wonder that just showed up because that was not there a couple hours ago. Interesting. I wonder if that has something to do with they were giving like bonus T-drop rewards to people that had used T-Fuel for certain NFTs in the past. That totally caught me off guard. Anyway, so back to what I was saying here. These VIP tiers are based off of your balance here, and it's a 30-day average. So if you want the bronze VIP tier, you have to be holding 100,000 T drop in your, Theta Drop wallet for 30 days on average. So silver, it's 1 million. Gold, it's 10 million. Now, the question that gets brought up a lot is, if I am staking, does that count towards my VIP tiers? And the answer is no. If you at this point, it's one or the other. You either stake it or you put it into your Theta Drop wallet and let it kind of accrue there. Or not accrue, it's not accruing anything. It's there unlocking one of these tiers. So the other way that you can get T-Drop is providing liquidity and then purchasing NFTs with T-Fuel. So I would be kind of cool if, they do. So if you're on T-Drop and you're looking at one of these NFTs, they show you the estimated amount of T-Drop that you'll get for purchasing this NFT. So if I purchase this random NFT for 36 T-Fuel, which I guess I could probably do, I would get 45 T-Drop, and it would just go into my wallet here. So this is the kind of the unique mechanism for mining T-Drop and adding to the supply that Theta came up with. Well, I wonder if they came up with it, or, there might be other places that do something similar, but I do believe they mentioned something that was similar to how OpenSea does stuff, but I don't know for sure. Again, that's not really what I was focused on. The other thing is that would be important to mention with these NFTs is that it's not going to be a great idea to try to do like wash trading, because as you trade, this amount will go down. So the more frequently NFT gets traded, the less T-drop it's worth, or the less T-drop you'll mine from it. That is due to a ridiculously complex algorithm, but it keeps track of, when the last transaction was on it and what it was sold for and all that kind of stuff. And so as you decrease the time between sales, the T-drop goes down to the point where it will get more expensive to complete the transaction than you will earn. And this is like a really complex way, but creative way to de-incentivize wash trading or people just swapping them all the time to get T-drop. So it encourages you to hold the NFT for longer, because the longer you hold it, the more TDROP, theoretically, you could mine from it, or could be mined from it. So that is an explanation, a little bit more of an in-depth explanation as to how that works. So that really sums it all up. I wish I could just give you like here are the actual staking percentages. Um, but like I said, and as I was trying to explain, it's really just not that simple. And but I wanted to give some parameters, and those parameters are, if you average it all out, you'll probably see somewhere between 37 and 42% per year. And if you divide that, you know, you'll get about 0.1% per day, or about 3% per month. So that really all I had, and I just wanted to get that out there and answer some questions, because I saw a lot of different people asking different things in like the discords and stuff like that. So if you saw anybody that was asking these questions, feel free to share this, and hopefully it's not too complicated. I know all the numbers look scary. I should. They're not really that scary though, but I might just be obsessed with data. That might just be my problem. So anyway, I appreciate everyone who was watching, and go ahead and give this a like and a share. Subscribe for more needlessly in-depth discussion about cryptocurrency. I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. So thanks for tuning in, and I will see you guys again in the next stream or video. Take it easy.